All right, guys, back today working on the '08 Duramax. This thing only has 56,000 miles on it, so the filter on it looks really good, but because this is the first set of miles we're going to put on it, I don't care if this has changed a week before then. He couldn't remember, so we're going to just swap it out. So pretty easy, guys. Let's walk through a handful of the steps and we'll get her done. All right, first things first, remove the fender shroud. That's going to be 7mm little bolt screw type things that you're going to take off, so you need a little socket. You're going to need a flat blade screwdriver and then one of those upholstery tools I keep showing you. Let me grab them. All right, so it's going to look like this. Once you pop the tab up at the flat blade, there's some push pin things throughout this whole cover. Pull that cover out, guys. Nothing you need to really remove up at the top in the engine compartment. This is pretty much how you're going to access your glow plugs. You can see right there. So here's your fuel filter. I pulled out the little water draining plug and then disconnected this wiring thing. One thing I will tell you though is this is clipped to the back of the fender liner, so use this, stick it underneath there, pop it up. And if you guys haven't ever found your block heater cord and it's never been a thought to really plug it in, but you wondered if you have one, this is where GM's going to hide it for the very first time. So if you've never used it, you can at least check here. If you have it, the cord's long enough, it pretty much runs up and out the top of the grill. Doesn't really have enough to run all the way down there, and I wouldn't recommend cutting it and splicing it. So just run it out the top, and then when you don't need it, you can shove it back behind the air cleaner throughout the winter. So again, this is gonna be a push and pull type connector. So we disconnected that. This piece we have to reuse, this sensor piece, that's for the water and fuel separator. And then we're gonna get a little slap wrench out here and we're gonna grab this filter and take it off. This is just catching whatever is dripping from the water drain. And that should spin out pretty easily, guys. All right, guys, so this is the wrench I'm talking about. It's like $6 at Harbor Freight. You can get it on the Zahn. I'll put a link to that. That'll work on a lot of different filters. So basically you just get it started. So here it is right here, guys. Again, super simple. It just goes on there, does it. If for some reason you need it at a 90, it'll twist it and do it at a 90. Pretty sure all of them do that. After this, again, we're gonna be ready to catch anything. By releasing this, we took off any pressure that would have been up in there. Again, it's a pressurized system, so once it loses prime, it's good to go ahead and twist it off. It's going to be heavy. It's full of diesel fuel, but we're just going to unscrew it and then pull it straight down, and then we'll check and make sure that the gasket came off. All right, so other than taking the fender liner off, which I took off yesterday because I had some maintenance stuff to do in here with the headlights, you're talking, this should be about a half-hour job, so, and the tools are minimal. There is your part number. Now there is the gasket I'm talking about. Make sure that came off. And then before I take it off the truck, I'll grab a pair of water pump pliers, people call them channel locks, and I'll loosen this bottom plug, this white sensor that we're going to need to reuse, because otherwise it's hard when you get it out, it's slippery. We don't want to damage the wires and stuff. So I get it at least just loosened, not loose, just twisted loose. Now we can take it out by hand. All right, guys, so in the manual, the 2008 LMM requires a different part number. However, GM over the years has tweaked the filters, made them a little bit better, made them a little bit different, combined a handful of filters, and the TP3018 will work. You can get it off the Zahn. It is an AC delco part. It's going to come with new gaskets. This is going to be for that, and this top one will be for the top ring right there, which we'll insert here in just a second. It's good to have some of these cheap painter cups around. They can handle bad things like paint thinner and gasoline without melting. Be real careful about what else you have in here. One dude was joking around about using his wife's dish. Whew, if I did that, I wouldn't be married anymore. So these are super cheap at the Walmart. Make sure you dispose of the fuel properly. And we'll get to taking this out. Again, this will spin out. What I mean by water pump pliers are these, or these, but people call them channel locks. There's what they look like, so you guys can see. I saw one guy use a pipe wrench on that. I'm not sure I would do that because it puts undue stress on the back corners of that. That's the premise of a pipe wrench. But hey man, for what it's worth, you do whatever works good for you. So we're gonna take this out. We're gonna peel off the old gasket, which is right here, unless it stayed in there, which I doubt it. And we're gonna swap that out. We're not gonna put the fuel back into the tank. That is now, like I said, it's gonna be junk. If you have like a weed whacker gas can, you could probably dump it in there, because weed whackers are a oil gas mix, and that wouldn't really jack with it at all. So yeah, so I'm gonna get a screwdriver, we're gonna pop that off, and we're gonna get that transferred over here into this guy right here. If we look up there, everything looks good, nothing crazy. We can go ahead and just kind of dry this off. Not a whole lot going on. It looks clean, it looks good. This engine compartment is super clean, guys. Again, this is a good time you can look at your heads, kind of look up in there and see if you can see the valve covers. But I mean, exhaust manifolds and everything, you check all that wiring here. All right, so there's the new filter. The small O-ring goes on that. Turn that until it's tight. The top O-ring snaps in that place, and then we're just gonna stick it back up in here. And then before we put all this back together, obviously we're gonna make sure that there's no leaks or anything like that. A little bit more difficult one-handed. All right, guys, once we get the filter on there, right here's the primer. There's a little plastic bleeder valve right there. That's that black looking. See if we can get the light in there so it'll focus. So it's that little flat blade screwdriver. It is made out of plastic, vinyl, whatever you want to call it. This round donut looking thing, that is your primer. And what'll happen is all you got to do is loosen that black screw. You can do it. It should not be that tight, guys. If you see torque marks on there, oh my gosh, if that thing snaps off in there, that whole piece needs to be replaced. Now, I don't know about you, but that looks like a knuckle busting fun of a time right there. So just loosen a couple turns, and what you're going to do is you're going to come in here to this, and you're going to be pushing this down several times until it gets hard. Okay, as it gets hard, let it go down, push down as far as you can, up all the way, and what you'll see is that'll start fizzing, and then eventually you'll see a little bit of fuel out. Now, I've seen people take it completely out and blow fuel over in here, but diesel stinks on a hot engine. So, and like we talked about the other day when I replaced the cowl, here's your fresh air, so it's going to go right up into your fresh air. So I would not do that. And then once you do see fuel kind of seep out of there, then it should be good. And this is hard as stone, guys, which is good, because that means that there's no air probably leaking in the filter, which means once we fire it up, it should be good. So then just tighten that up and try and use the flat blade. Okay, guys, there's a reason why. If not, it is a 13 mil, but I'm telling you, do not over tighten that pig. All right. All right, so once we come into the engine, or the driver's seat, we're gonna just let it fire up. Now, all right, guys, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna let this bad boy run for about 5 minutes. That should give you time to see if you have any seeping down there. Again, we're gonna make sure that we plug in the sensor wire here. We're not leaking anywhere from the water separator cap or the drain. I know it's loud in here, but let's get back out for a second. And guys, if you don't have these are just fantastic. They're rechargeable, they last forever. The magnet's super powerful. I'll put a link in there. I actually found this one on the side of the road one time, and I ended up buying more of these. So you just have a couple, and again, I love them because they aren't going anywhere, and you can rotate them and stuff. So again, guys, I see guys do this swap. They blow diesel all over I didn't spill one drop of diesel anywhere. The truck won't turn over right away. It's because you didn't prime it correctly. and you just don't want to, you know, put that air into the system, so it's best just to work it out in the bleeding process. But you know, there's a million ways to skin a cat, guys. I've changed tons of filters on these. So again, we're going to reinstall now the fender liner, because that's done with, and we're going to do an oil change. That'll be coming up. I will put links to the filter down below, the tools down below, and this job, I think the first time it took me about 40 minutes to do, just because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. But that was back in 2003-ish when I had my first Duramax, trying to figure it out and everything. But nonetheless, guys, hit the subscribe button down there in the corner, smash a like for me, and I will see you on the next one.